17 feet. From the legends of the hollow hour. They say land remembers. It doesn't matter how many times you till it, salt it, bless it, or build over the bones. If something wicked was buried beneath it, the land knows, and it calls her back. Her. La Quebrada. I never wanted the land. When my grandfather died, the lawyers practically begged me to sell the old ranch near San Geronimo. 32 hectares of dry cornfields and a house half-eaten by termites. It had sat abandoned for decades, fenced off with rusted barbed wire, and a single red ribbon nailed to the front door. But something pulled me there. Not nostalgia, something darker. I found his journal in a trunk under the floorboards. The last entry was written on stained paper, scrawled with a shaking hand. The dirt will never forgive me. She comes closer every night. I hear her breathing through the sack. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. Not the peaceful silence of countryside isolation. This was wrong silence. No crickets. No dogs. Not even wind. Just emptiness. At 3:17 a.m., I heard footsteps on gravel. One step. Pause. One step. Pause. Rhythmic. Measured. Like someone limping in a ritual. I looked out the window. There she was, standing exactly 17 feet from my door. A thin, bent woman in a rotted dress. Her head was covered in a burlap sack, soaked red from the inside. I couldn't see her face, but I didn't need to. The air was thick with rot and old guilt. And flies. The next morning I went digging. Literally. Behind the barn, where the weeds grew tallest, I found a small stone marker. No name. No dates. Just a dried black candle and a baby's rattle half buried in the earth. I called my uncle, the only living relative who'd talk to me. He hung up the moment I said La Quebrada, but he sent a voicemail later. His voice was shaking. She's real. Your abuelo, he made a deal in 52. He buried her alive after she delivered that child. Buried her with broken legs and a sack over her face. Said no one would find her. But the land did. The land always finds what it loses. Don't let her get closer. She moves when you blink. When you sleep. When you confess nothing. And if you hear her whisper your name, it's already too late. That night I tried not to sleep, but I dreamed of dirt under my fingernails, of wet breath against my ear, of children sobbing beneath the floor. I woke at 3:15 a.m. No sound, no wind, and then a knock, soft, deliberate, from inside the walls. I turned slowly to the window. She was 10 feet away now, closer than before. The sack on her head twitched like something alive underneath. She raised one trembling hand and pointed, not at me, but at the floor. I tore up the wood planks. The stench hit me first, a mixture of old milk, iron, and rot. Underneath, wrapped in plastic and rosaries, was a skeleton. Small, infant-sized. Next to it, a note, written in my grandfather's hand. Forgive me, Lord. I could not raise the child of something unholy. She promised me a good harvest. I didn't know she would want it back. Suddenly I heard it. A voice. Her voice. Muffled by the sack, but clear in my head. Speak it. Speak what he did. Speak it into the dark, or join them. I ran outside into the dirt, fell to my knees, and I screamed the truth. I buried the body. I let him do it. I didn't stop him. My bloodline is cursed. The ground shook. The wind returned. And for a moment, I thought it was over. But when I looked up, she hadn't moved. Still 17 feet away. She didn't want confession. She wanted replacement. I heard footsteps behind me, felt cold fingers on my shoulder. I was no longer alone. And as the bell struck 3:17 a.m., I understood. The curse doesn't end when you speak the truth. It ends when someone takes your place beneath the soil. And the land was hungry. They'll find my house empty. They didn't find my body. Not under the house. Not in the fields. Not in the well behind the barn. But someone else found her. 2 weeks after I disappeared, a stranger, a land surveyor from out of town, showed up to assess the property. He called it unclaimed inheritance. Said it was easy money. He slept there one night. Only one. His partner said he'd gone out to smoke around 3 a.m. He never came back. But when they searched the area, they found footprints in the dirt. 17 paces. Perfectly spaced. Leading from the house to nowhere. Her name is Isela Vargas. She's a podcaster. True crime. Paranormal content. Big city skeptic. She heard about the land, the disappearances, the stories about a woman with a sack over her face standing outside windows at night. She thought it would make a good episode. She brought microphones, night vision cameras, even a priest. She documented everything: the broken clock, the rosaries nailed into the wood, the basement that had no door. But something strange happened on the second night. Every recording came back silent. No wind. No whisper. No breathing. Just static. Then ticking. At 3:17 a.m. she wrote a single sentence in her notebook before collapsing. There are roots under this land and they are growing. She began to change. First, her voice hoarse, low, like it had been buried. Then her eyes always bloodshot, even when she hadn't cried. Then she started speaking in her sleep. Words she didn't understand. Words in a language older than Spanish. She tore up the floor. Found bones wrapped in vines. Human bones. Dozens of them. Some small. Some with baby teeth. All of them bound with thorned rosaries. And underneath it all, a hollow space. Breathing. Alive. Isela begged the priest to perform a rite. He brought oil, a crucifix, and salt. He marked every corner. Lit candles. Recited scripture. But at 3:17 a.m. the crucifix snapped in half in his hands. And La Quebrada appeared, not outside the house. Inside. She stood in the hallway. Sack dripping. Head tilted. The flies came in through the chimney. The candles died. The priest screamed, fell to the floor, then began confessing things no one had asked. Things about a child. A woman in another town. A grave no one knew about. He clawed at his throat until he couldn't speak anymore. She tried to run. Got as far as the fence. But every direction she turned, the trees were wrong. The land kept folding back on itself. Like a knot pulled tighter with each lie she held. Because Isela wasn't innocent. She knew her grandfather once owned this land. Knew he sold it in 1951 for a bag of silver and a promise to forget. He'd been there the night the woman was buried. And now, so was Isela. At dawn, searchers found her car idling at the edge of the road. Inside was her recorder. Still running. The final recording was nothing but footsteps. Then, don't speak it. Don't dig it. Don't name her. She's under all of us now. We're just waiting our turn to stand 17 feet away. Since then, others have seen her. Not just at the ranch, but in town, in suburbs, near playgrounds, in the window of a third-floor apartment, always 17 feet away. Always watching, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. Because La Quebrada is no longer tied to that soil. We're all part of her land now. If you see a woman outside your house with a sack over her face, if she never moves, never speaks, but never disappears, don't wait for 3:17. Dig up your truth, or you'll take her place. And someone else will find you standing 17 feet from their door.